Leo's insights are presented to challenge, inform, and encourage you in your quest to break free from school-based approaches to education. Building upon a foundation of unschooling, we sincerely hope these insights help you to consider how education can be truly unlimited.
Last week I talked about a student who likely learned more from a bad decision than from actual curricular instruction he received in class. I should tell you that this happened a long time ago in a rural school. I have my doubts as to whether today's parents and children would cooperate as those of that story did. I especially doubt that this would occur in an urban public school. In this way, I'm glad my classroom teaching days are behind me. This next story does take place in the last school I taught in, which was a big multicultural high school in Edmonton. This school must have had students representing every country in the world. At least that's what it seemed like, and that's what made it rather a special place to work. A mixture of cultures, languages, ideas, and groupings meant lots of opportunities to learn and get along, or, unfortunately, how to defend your position. On several occasions did I have to break up fights. However, I would like to point out that while many of these skirmishes were racial in nature, they were usually between different groupings of new or foreign students, and not so much between white Canadian students and other groups, as we are often told. One particular student of Indigenous origin was the recipient of constant racial taunts from a group of Asian students at the bus stop. Bus stops are often far enough from the school that teachers are not present, making whoever is unlucky enough to be the victim of such antics very vulnerable. While strolling around the language lab, observing how the students were getting along with their assignments, this native student's backpack fell over, revealing a rather formidable-looking hunting knife. I immediately and very discreetly bent down, grabbed the book out of his bag, hid the knife as best I could, and brought it to my desk at the front of the room. I don't believe anybody noticed what had happened, except, of course, the now very frightened student. I did not say a word, but the student waited until all others had vacated at the end of the class before making his way to talk to me. He was shaking. He was very, very scared. I need to tell you that most teachers would have likely made a big production out of this, involving the administration, school constable, anybody else that they could bring in and make a big show. I decided not to do this, and not being able to see what I had in mind scared this student even more. The next class was about to begin, so I instructed him to come back at the end of the day, which he did. By now, he had settled down a bit and expected me to return the knife. Well, obviously, that wasn't an option. When I asked him what he was doing with that knife, and remember this predates school metal detectors, he told me about the taunting he was constantly being subjected to at the bus stop. He was certainly big enough to defend himself, but not against a gang. He insisted he had no intention of hurting anyone, that he just wanted to scare them. But that was very bad thinking by an emotional teenager who had had enough. When I told him that I would call his parents about the event, he panicked. Now, teenagers have long been known for drama, and this fellow did not disappoint. He clearly believed that if I did that, I could strike him off the attendance roster because he would no longer be attending due to the fact that dead students don't go to school. He told me that his dad would kill him. When I asked if his dad was bigger than him, he replied that his dad was. Well, this proved to be just his perception, because when I later met them, they were about the same size. Both big, mind you. Seeing that he was traumatized by the thoughts of me calling his dad, I suggested an alternative. I told him he could tell his dad himself and have his dad call me. The students thought that would be a more humane approach, as this way his dad could kill him right away, reducing possible pain and suffering. What kids don't come up with. He bid me farewell, as in, please don't forget to come to my funeral, and left. The next morning, a different kid in the same skin found me first thing in the morning. Feeling surprised at having seen him after being invited to attend his funeral, I asked what happened. The story is a real tearjerker. After coming clean, his dad told him to get dressed as they were going somewhere. Needless to say, the student imagined a bridge or a ditch where the deed could be done without too much mess. Obviously, this was not on the father's mind. He took his son to his favorite restaurant and bought him his favorite pizza. He then told his son some of his own history, much of which mirrored his son's, except he had brought his weapon to the scene. He had been charged for doing bad things and had paid a price he just did not want his son to replicate. He reminded the young man just how much he was loved and just how proud he was of him for not having made the wrong decision, even though he may have been spared by the sharp eye of his teacher. That young man changed that night, and I had the privilege of having had a hand in teaching him a fantastic lesson. I really do love that story. Dad did come by a few days later to get the knife. What an honor it was to have met the man who made a man of his son. Some of the best lessons learned in school are indeed extracurricular.
We trust you were blessed by today's presentation. For more helpful information to guide you in your home education journey, please visit educationunlimited.ca and leogaumont.com. Be sure to like us and share us on Facebook.